All right, good morning, everyone. Okay, go in here. All right, U.S. markets managed to put in a green session on Friday, kind of bouncing around and putting in some consolidation on the S&P around recent levels over the past few sessions. You can see they're mixed on sectors on the day, but it just kind of feels like there's very little leadership at the moment. There's not really a catalyst to get us to correct, but there's also not really a catalyst to get us to continue this multiple expansion we've seen, over the past year. We've had some reasonable economic data as of late. Last night some more good economic data out in Asia. But we really haven't been able to see Asian markets over the last few sessions show any ability to rally on the back of better than expected data. So, China has really been disappointing in terms of the market performance relative to the reasonably strong data we've seen out of the last week and a half. So, starting to show inability to rally on good data. Makes you think that we're kind of getting closer to the top end of the range there. We had Dallas Fed President Richard Fisher came out and said that the U.S. should end its record stimulus as soon as possible. I've seen starting to look like they've moved consensus to January now for us to start the taper. So I think that we've got to price that in going forward and work off of that for new data points, etc. All right, we also had, you can see there most markets were slightly down on the day, but then we had Japan that was actually closed for a public holiday, so just keep that in mind. All right, this morning, corporate action, we had Impala's production report out, came in lower than expected, lower than previous numbers on the output numbers at 376,000 ounces versus 454. Pretty much right in line on the unit cost, which is probably a nice surprise. Palladium output was quite significantly lower. You can see there, and the cost per ounce is also quite significantly higher. So, also we've got a trading statement that's supposed to be out later this afternoon from Foschini. And then we've got PSG going X today at 43 cents. All right. Let's look at market data. Like I said, we had some better than expected non-manufacturing numbers out of China. That's kind of a third or fourth data point in a row out of China that's been really good. We've got the end of daylight savings time in the U.S. today. So remember, U.S. markets will only open up at 4:30. And then we've got PMI numbers across Europe. We've got PMI construction in the UK, and then we've got factory orders later in the States. Okay, let's jump into the maps. Let's have just a quick look ahead on data points. You're going to be out this week. We've got MDC as first half numbers on Wednesday, Mondi as well, All Mutual, Anglo Gold. We've got the Twitter IPO on Wednesday as well. Toyota, quarter three numbers on Wednesday, and Lafarge as well. Then on Thursday, we've got Seppi, Foschini, Arcelor. We've got rate decisions out of ECB and the BOE, as well as quarter three GDP numbers in the States, and the OPEC World Oil Outlook. And then Friday we've got CFR, Harmony, and then Remgro, which will be X, as well as non-farm payrolls and trade balance numbers out of China. So we do have quite a lot going on this week, especially out of earnings reports. We'll have to keep that in mind today. In the trading going forward, just be careful on certain of these names, and how if you're getting involved there, just tread lightly. All right, let's jump into the maps. Okay, first thing I want to have a look at is Billiton on the 2-year chart. Just kind of trying to work this out a little bit. There's definitely a significant level here at 310. I know here it kind of looks like we we did close above 310, but that was really the only close above 310 outside of Friday, and that was kind of on a bearish candle there. So I think that Friday's action and Billiton incredibly strong considering. I know we did have a pullback after we closed in London, quite heavy sell-off in Billitons and Anglos, but the fact that we were able to hold as well as we did throughout the day yesterday is just incredibly bullish, I think. And we've really just been making higher and higher lows, throughout the year, going into this point where we've actually had a little bit of a breakout. If we look back, I mean, this is the other chart that we had shown. We kind of right here. To break out as well over a multi-year chart. The one thing that the rudder did say to me when we were looking at this is that there's not a whole lot of touches on this line, so it's maybe not as important as it normally would be. But I think the shape of the pattern, this big rising triangle over 5-6 years here is incredibly important. So I think if we get above if we can hold it at these levels and maybe even push a little bit higher, I think very bullish going forward in Billitons. All right, let's look at the next one, which is Amplats. Amplats, I'm actually looking at a 2-year chart here. What I want to look at is just the level that we're at now. If you can just, about this, call it 398 level. This is where we really broke down from. If you look all the way back here, when was this? We had that first little breakdown. We had about $40 spurt, if I remember, from about, call it 396 or something, 395, 396 down to 360. We had that little breakdown. We did bounce from there, but this was a big level. That level extended all the way across, comes in line pretty perfectly with where we're at now. So I think the significance of this level is very important. It's sort of 390, call it 396 level in Amplats. We're going to watch this one closely and to see if we're able to hold this as we test it over the next few sessions, likely. If we drop that level, I really think that it could really come under pressure. But I think I wouldn't want to front run it ahead of time. All right, let's look at BTI. BTI. Kind of getting to the point here where we're also, we held support there. We talked about that level a while, right here when we were putting that consolidation in. But we're getting close now to 560 resistance. Obviously this thing's already broken out of maybe a little bit of a descending triangle formation here. But I think breaking above where we put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touches here at 560, couldn't break above it on a closing basis. That's a really significant level. If we're getting ready to pop up there and test that probably in the next session or two. We're only about $4.50 away. So watch this closely. We've been in a nice little consolidation phase. I think if you're long, maybe not a bad area to start taking profit, seeing as how we just ran all the way from 510 straight to 560. So we've had a 10% run in BTI. But if we get above 560 and can hold it, obviously we'd be looking bullish technically. I'll just be careful because this recent rally there's a little bit long in the tooth. All right, the ShopRite. ShopRite, this level at 183, we talked about this a dozen times. I think we were talking about this a year and a half ago. It was already kind of significant there. We did have a little spurt up here a couple of days where we couldn't really hold on to anything back in April, but this 183 definitely significant. We have kind of been wicking above it and weren't really managing to get any significant closes above it, or especially above kind of the highs around 185 from back in April. We finally got above it now. I think definitive breakout in my mind. At least see it coming up here and testing this sort of 191 level, which has been highs going back for maybe 10 months. So this has been a kind of a rough road, I guess, in terms of the way that it trades. It bounces up 3 or 4 rand, pulls back 3 or 4 rand the same day. I mean, it closes up a rand 50 in the auction half the time or down. I mean, it's very, you can see here how wicky this stock is. But I think important that we finally broke above 183. I definitely think we can come up and test 191 in the next couple days. All right, sticking with the retail theme, let's have a look at Truworths. I did point this one out a day or two ago, and we talked about the 93 level here, which I think is important. We did get one close up above it, throughout this whole period, which turned out to be a bit of a head fake before we broke to the lows. But there's definitely some significance to this level here at 93, and we only closed at 94 yesterday or on Friday. So I think in the next session or two, if we can get a little nibble on this stock here around these levels, I think is worthwhile to me. I think these stocks have bottomed a little bit. The numbers out of these retailers haven't been bad of late, and I think now they're to be bought on support. So 93 and Truworths I think is not a bad idea. All right, the last two I'm going to show are on the LSE. We're going to look at IMG, Imagination Technologies here. You can see that we're coming up, beautiful head and shoulder pattern here, set up, testing it right now as we speak. I think we can have obviously a hugely significant drop through these levels. If we drop 270 on a closing basis, that's really going to take us probably down to as low as £2 or less. So just have a look at this one if you're trading in London. I think this could be it's one of the classic setups, and I think it could be some money to be made there over the next month or two. All right, Barclays, the last one we're going to show here in London. Barclays has been in a monster consolidation phase over the past, call it 9 to 10 months. You can see here we've quite clearly defined levels, and just been totally range bound, going all the way back for a year. So there's not been a whole lot of game in this stock. It's at a very critical juncture here, kind of right around the closing price on Friday, 257. If we're to drop below that, I would call it 250 to give us a little bit more confirmation. But if we drop below 250 in Barclays, then I wouldn't be surprised to see us move all the way down closer to £2, which is significant. I mean, I think ABSA was over half of their earnings in the most reading or in their earnings report last week. So to me, is definitely some downside here if we break below 250 in Barclays. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.